Let's face it, we all need a little comfort food every once in a while. And one of my favorite comfort foods, believe it or not, is meatloaf. So on today's episode of Lean and Green with me, I'm going to make some mini barbecue and cheddar meatloaves. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elizabeth and I am living in the light by documenting my weight loss journey using Optavia's 5-in-1 program. I can give you more information about the Optavia program. If you're interested, my contact information is in the description box down below. But part of the Optavia program has you eating one lean and green meal each day that you prepare yourself. And that consists of 5 to 7 ounces of a lean protein plus 3 lower carbohydrate vegetables, and then any combination of condiments, up to 3 condiments, and a healthy fat depending on the amount of fat that is in your protein that you're having. So the ingredients that I'm going to need today are 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef, some green onions, some sugar-free barbecue sauce. My favorite is G. Hughes. I have the hickory flavored. My favorite is actually the, I think it's called Sweet Hot. It's a little bit spicy. It's really good. So reduced fat, sharp cheddar cheese, an egg, some garlic powder, and then salt and pepper. So super easy ingredients. Let me show you how to put this together. Super easy ingredients, but before I jump into this, let me invite you to like the video, hit that thumbs up button down below, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. That just lets me know that you like this content, that you're supporting me on my journey. So hit that subscribe button and let me know that you are rooting me on. I have popped all my cold stuff back in the refrigerator because the first step is to soften or to saute the green onions. Now the recipe says, that I'm following, says to use 10 sprays of cooking spray, and then to be really careful not to let it burn. So what I have learned, what I have found, one of the best ways to saute vegetables without any fat at all is to use some water, because that's actually going to steam them. That hot steam is going to cook the onions, the peppers, the jalapeno, whatever it is that you're trying to saute, without it burning. And then if you just put a little spritz, like 1 or 2 sprays instead of 10 of the cooking spray, which then doesn't count at all, then you will keep it from burning. You do still have to keep an eye on it, but it will get sauteed and then it will get a little caramelized. So the first thing that I have to do, the recipe calls for a whole cup of spring onions. So you know me, I like to weigh everything. And so I took my green onions and I have already cleaned them. I ran them under some cold water and got them all nice and clean, cut the ends, the little hairy ends off, pulled off any outer leaves that might not be so great. And then I could use a knife, but it's just as easy to use kitchen shears. If you don't have a good pair of kitchen shears, get some good sharp kitchen shears, because then all you have to do is just slice through them. I also weigh everything. 1 cup of scallions, spring onions, green onions, whatever you want to call them, is going to be basically 3.5 ounces. So 1.76 is a half a cup. So double that and you've got 3.5. So I'm just gonna cut these up with my scissors until I have 3.5 ounces in the bowl. I'm guesstimating that it's going to be both little sets of onions that I bought. And I'm gonna just run through them. Doesn't have to be fancy because you're gonna cook them down until they're soft. And I'm gonna run through these and then I will come back and show you the next step. I've got about 1/2 cup of water in this saute pan. I've got my heat on medium high. I'm gonna dump my green onions. It actually was 3¼ ounces, so it's not even a full cup, but it's close enough. And then just A couple quick sprays is all I need. And then I'm just going to let this get hot, let the water steam, allow it to cook down, and then it'll soften all of these green onions, and then caramelize them just a little bit, and I will come back and show you the next step. The water has all evaporated here. The vegetables are fairly soft. I'm going to stir them around for just a few minutes just to get a slight bit of color on them. I don't want them to burn. And then I am going to remove them from the heat and put them in another bowl. I'm going to give them about 10 minutes to cool, and then we can put the meatloaves together. I am going to preheat my oven to 425 at this point, so that by the time I get the meatloaves all mixed and portioned on my baking sheet, then it will be ready to pop into the oven. I will be right back. The next thing that we have to do is just combine everything together. You know that I like to weigh everything to make sure that I've divided things equally. So I've already put my 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef in. I'm going to add in my 1 egg that is whisked, slightly beaten, just to get the yolk and the whites. And if you don't want to use a whole egg, you could probably use about 1/4 cup, maybe 1/3 cup of egg beaters would be the same thing roughly. My green onions, which are nice and cooled. I need, now the recipe calls for 4 ounces of cubed reduced fat cheddar cheese, but I'm not buying a block of cheese just for that. So I'm just using shredded. I've done this before. I know it works. So 4 ounces of shredded cheddar cheese, 1/4 cup of the sugar, no sugar barbecue sauce. The recipe also that I looked at said 1/4 cup plus 4 tablespoons. Well, 4 tablespoons is 1/4 cup, so really you need about 1/2 cup of sauce. But really what it is, it's 1/4 cup that goes in, and then the remaining sauce goes on top of the meatloaves when you cook them. I actually put it on close to the end just so that it doesn't all cook away and it doesn't get too cooked too hard. All right, so it's a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, but I don't even know if I'll put that much in there. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper is a lot, so that may be 1/4 teaspoon. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And again, I've said this before, I use kosher salt, which really is not as salty as regular salt, table salt. So I probably could have a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do is mix this all together and then divide it into 5 portions. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of math. Yours will just depend on the weight of your ingredients. If you have more green onions than I ended up having, yours might weigh a little bit more. So I'm gonna mix this all together and then I'm going to show you how to form these. We are all mixed together. I know I've measured and divided, so I know that each of my meatloaves is gonna be about 8 ounces. So I'm gonna take a guess. I'm gonna do 5 of these again. Oh my goodness. It's more than it should have been. All right, there's 1. Two. 3. sure. Let's see how I did here. Oh, not quite. I'm going to take a pinch off of each one and just see what happens. They're going to be roughly the same size, and not going to be exactly, but it's pretty close. All right, so I'm going to take each one of these and I'm going to form it into basically an oblong hamburger patty, but a little bit thicker. I don't want it as thin as a hamburger. So they're going to be about 1 inch thick. They're probably about 3-4 inches long and 2 inches wide. So almost the size of a 3x5 card, a little bit smaller than that. That will allow these to cook all the way through. We don't have any raw meat. So nobody wants raw hamburger. Now, if you use the cubed cheese, and you're welcome to do that, I would kind of flatten these out even more, put the cheese inside and then fold it over and kind of form around the cheese so that they get the cheese is melted inside a little bit. That might be kind of good. But most of the time I'm using shredded cheese anyway, so I didn't want to have just a block of cheese that I'm not going to use up right away. These are going to go into my 425-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. So I want to make sure that they are about 165 in the center. I don't want, again, any raw meat. I don't want to make anybody sick. These are fantastic to make ahead and then freeze them individually. And then when you need a quick meal, you can thaw them in the refrigerator and then reheat them in the air fryer. You can reheat them in your microwave if you want to, but I think that would destroy them. But I'm going to toss these into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then I'll come back and show you actually I'm going to toss them in the oven for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to top them each with about 2 tablespoons of, a little under 2 tablespoons of the barbecue sauce. I have to divide that 1/4 cup between all 5, so it's going to be just a little under, maybe 2.5 teaspoons, more or less. And then I will see you back here to show you what they look like. Okay, I have my 4 tablespoons of barbecue sauce, and I think the easiest thing to do is probably just to brush them on each one until I've got some on all of them and used up this sauce. And then I'm going to toss them back in the oven for another probably about 10 more minutes. The sauce can caramelize a little bit on these. And we should be good to go. So another 10 minutes. And then I will come back and show you what they look like. Okay, they're all done. Each one of these meatloaves is 1 lean, 1/4 of a green, because you're dividing that. It's actually less than 1/4 of a green. And then 3 condiments. So when you eat these, you just want to round this out with 2 3/4. I would even say 3 greens and just call that green onion a wash, because 1/4 of a green is such a small amount, but you can figure that out. Green beans, mashed cauliflower. The last time I did this, that's exactly what we had, was some riced cauliflower. I got the cauliflower risotto stuff that is in the, I think it's Green Giant that I get at Kroger, and some green beans, and it made a great comfort food meal. So I hope that you'll give these a try. and let me know in the comments down below what you think. And until I see you next time, please live in the light.